Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today to our third Shiji Buzz event. My name is Gabriella, and I am the marketing coordinator at Shiji US. I'll be your host for today. I just want to give a quick note about questions. We will have a Q&A portion to this webinar where you will have an option to ask any questions through the chat. You can send your questions at any time, but they will be addressed after we've completed the discussion, okay? We have a great discussion panel planned with Jordi Fiegels, which is our corporate business process manager at Majestic Resorts, Jill Beagle, vice president of sales at Shiji North America, and Guille Garcia, director of product at Review Pro. And since Jordi is our guest, why don't you start us off by introducing yourself?
Thank you, Gabriela. First of all, thank you to Shiji Group and Review Pro for inviting me and to be a panelist together with Jill and Guille. It's an honor for me. As Gabriela said, I'm the corporate business process manager at Majestic Resorts. I've been working at Majestic Resorts for the last 11 years, since June 2010. I started a management and training program in operations. Then I escalated the ladder all the way up to general manager for 2 years at the Majestic Colonial. And then I had the opportunity to jump in the opening of the Majestic Elegance Costa Mujeres in Cancun, and together with the implementation of the new ERP and the PMS of the company. Prior to that, I lived in Spain. I'm based right now in the Dominican Republic. Prior to that, I lived in Spain. I worked at Mandarin Oriental Barcelona, at the Hotel Arts, a Ritz-Carlton hotel company. And I did my hospitality management degree back in Barcelona as well. I come from a family involved in the industry. Our main businesses were in the travel industry, travel agencies, incentives. So I have a background of hotel operations and travel-related industries.
And thank you. Welcome, Jordi. Jill.
Great. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. My name is Jill Beagle, and I'm the Vice President of Sales for Shiji Group in North America. I've been in the hotel business since 1990, where I started out as a hotelier, worked both on operations and front office and revenue management. 2003, I jumped over to the technology vendor side, joined Shiji a year and a half ago. I've been selling technology that ranges quite a span of different types of solutions, everything from business intelligence, distribution, marketing, and operational technologies, both on the food and beverage as well as the guest room side. It's a pleasure to be here today. Thank you.
We're happy to have you. Guille?
Hello, Gabriela and Jill and Jordi. It's a great pleasure to be here with you and running this webinar, talking about one of the things that I love the most, which is integrations between systems. I currently work as a director of product at Review Pro. And I'm responsible for the product planning and execution. And that goes from the definition and design of the products to the development of them and, the put in place into production of those products. Prior to Review Pro, I worked in many facets of the hospitality industry in multiple countries and different type of hotels, from urban high-tech hotels like Citizen M, up to big resorts in the Canary Islands, and working as assistant hotel managers for the Barcelona Hotel Group, for example. And ever since I started in Review Pro, I love the product, I love technology, and I really found the pace through it. And yeah, again, thank you for having us here, and let's get this started.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Those were some great introductions. So on today's Shiji Buzz event, we'll discuss how integrations supercharge hotel software solutions. So this dives into, in the recent Travel Singularity report, where Shiji concluded that when asked how important technology integrations are, 71% stated that they are very important. It was also found that when it comes to the most relevant aspects of software integrations, the main mentions go to the ability to make daily activities easier at a 71%, followed by the actual quality of integrations at a 67%. Obviously, with this data in mind, let's get some insights from our panel experts. And let me start off by really just diving into the first question and asking, why are integrations so important in the industry today?
Yeah, If you don't mind, I'll go ahead and get started. I think there's two things that come to mind for me, like out the gate. One is the state of the current industry. Integrations throughout my time in the business have definitely gained importance over the years, but currently with the situation the pandemic has created, staffing challenges in properties, staff wearing multiple hats, doing more jobs than they ever had to do before, or just hotels struggling to get staff to come back to work. The efficiencies that integrations create becomes even more important. And then you add that with the fact that the technology choices that are available for hotels today to choose from to meet their operational needs continues to grow. There are so many different solutions out there, from niche vendors who solve one piece of their challenge to providers that provide a bunch of different technology options. And so for hoteliers to really be able to look at those options and see which ones are going to best meet their needs, they really need us as vendors and the community to have integrations available so that it can make their choice easy and not have to worry about the manual processes and duplication of effort that comes without having an integration.
Well, if I may jump in, I'd like to give you the other perspective from the hotel side. We as hoteliers, all the companies, they invest millions of dollars in their properties, in building properties, having all the updated design and layouts and the best materials. But at the end of the day, the main goal, in order to achieve the return of investment, you can have the best infrastructure, but if you don't provide the service and if you don't meet or succeed the guest expectations, at the end of the day, you are not achieving the goal of having repeat guests and return business. And one of the best ways I've learned throughout my career of providing that service and to achieve the goal is to dedicate time to our guests as an employee. As a front desk agent, if you have 15, 20 minutes to dedicate to a guest, it's an experience that the guest is going to remember throughout the stay, after the checkout. If a waiter can take care of the table for 3, 4, 5 minutes and have a sort of interaction, that makes personal touches that the guests are remembering, even corporate guests or corporate clients are remembering that. And the only way to achieve that is to have time. So one of the features to attain that goal is technology. 15 years ago, everything was manual on paper. Now with integrations, you can have different systems connected and having reliable data flowing from the PMS, from the front desk to the point of sales at the restaurants. You can have a manual task that before we had to do in the back office for an hour or so, the night audit processes and everything similar to that. And now with integrations, it can be done in a matter of seconds, minutes, if the task is wider. And that's give us time, that hour in the back office, trying to, in the case of Radio Pro, trying to count surveys, you can spend it at the front, taking care of our guests. And basically integrations are eliminating manual processes, are able to provide us reliable information and data that we can use as advantage during the stay of the guest or during also in post-stay. And I think, especially now with the pandemic and the shortage of employees, as Jill said, is helping us also to streamline processes, to optimizing our procedures and reducing time that we can reducing spare time that we can adjust our processes and benefit from them.
Yeah, and if I may add something to that, sorry, Jordi, is that so integrations this is nothing new, yeah? I mean, this is something that it's been forever in the industry. And in the past, if you think about it, a PMS, it's always like the heart of a hotel. And every single piece of data, the industry has always been working towards making sure that this data is shared with the PMS and, it's executing actions with it. In the past, for example, we can think about the trends were always directed towards guest acquisition. And the most common examples would be integrations with booking engines, channel managers, GDS, and you name them. And the goal was to expose the hotels in meta search engines and OTAs and reduce the manual tasks that Jordi is actually talking about, which in the end, it becomes return on investment, right? And maximizes the revenue. And I think I started by saying that it's not only a thing of the today scenario, it's also in the past, because today what happens is that there's been a revolution in the sense that there is the distribution technology is changing, and it's doing it at a very fast pace, because everybody right now today can create new applications. And these new applications need to integrate to what Jordi was just mentioning, because in the end you want to create a unified scenario that is capable to talk between technologies. This is why I think integrations have been and continue to be a key player in the industry.
Yeah, on that note, can you explain from like a technical perspective the different possibilities of data extract using API versus two-way integrations between two vendors?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think, Gabriela, we should start first of all by looking at what allows integrations to work, and that is resumed. We can summarize it with the word API. For those that are not used to hear about APIs, an API is an application programming interface, and allow the interactions between multiple applications to perform automated actions that respond to external events that happens, and then these systems to communicate between them. Going back to your question, when we compare data extraction versus two-way integrations, we're basically doing a small differentiation or big differentiation between asynchronous data feeds and real-time data feeding in between systems. For example, let me put you an example, which is to make it simple for the audience. If you think about a hotel using system A, for example, to create, room service requests and manage them, and you have another system that could be, for instance, a CRM, where you want to be able to get the data from system A and put it into system B in your CRM so that you can see, the evolution of your weekly room requests. That's extra data extraction, and that can be asynchronous, On the other hand, if we think about two-way integration, we are getting a bit more sophisticated here. We are thinking then about this system that can, for instance, create a chatbot, and then you can have your guests to talk with the chatbot and make room service requests. Now, from system A, what we want with two-way integration is to feed this information into the system where I manage my cases, and then have my team to work and fix these room service requests or issues or whatever this might be. And then upon resolution from system B, send back this information to the chatbot in system A. So that the chatbot can then react and ask the customer if there's anything else that they need. So I think this is the difference between the two that you just pointed. To summarize, it's asynchronous versus real-time data integration between systems.
And I just kind of add in from the conversations that need to occur from the hotel partner side as well as the technology vendor side. There is a difference. Open APIs have been adopted more and more over the last several years, which is great, but that's just putting the data out there. It doesn't mean there's consistency between the open API and the data and where it sits. So that's where the integration piece comes in. And someone does have to write on the technology side to make those systems talk in a real-time environment. So as we, talk to every conversation we have is, there's a discussion on integration. So a really key piece to understand is what is the hotel trying to accomplish? Make sure the hotel, if you're the hotelier, just saying I need an integration isn't enough. And it's not enough because integrations can require an additional investment. They can require additional timeframes when you can actually implement and go live. So really kind of thinking through what's the use case? What am I trying to accomplish with the integration? And is a real-time data flow and the systems talking to each other that way necessary to solve the problem? So, kind of giving another example in the Review Pro world, building on that CRM example, if a guest, checks out, they take a survey or they go online, they fill out, they do a review on a site, they have their static NPS score and their survey results. A hotel may choose to have that put into their CRM so that they have more actionable data and a richer guest profile. But that's an example of data that's not going to change. My NPS score and that survey result isn't going to change once I leave. So that can be very easily accomplished through the open API. Whereas back to the chatbot example or to a case management solution, and the point I made earlier with multiple solutions and for a hotel to choose from, and then the crossover that some of those solutions have. So in Review Pro, we have our guest experience automation solution, which has case management. So in theory, someone, I could check in and fill out an in-stay survey with a housekeeping request that gets routed through Review Pro, but then the housekeeper could actually use their system they're using for housekeeping to have the same request. So having that real-time integration becomes important to make sure the proper data fields are communicated between both systems so that the staff is efficient in solving the challenge and that the guest need is actually solved for and the guest is actually communicated with before they leave the property.
This, if I may jump in as well, Jill said two important things. First, we as hoteliers, we need to know what we want to achieve with integrations. Sometimes, and I think Jill can confirm it, even Guille, when, including myself, when we start talking hoteliers with IT people or integration or tech companies, we have not really a clear picture of what we want. We know that we want to increase the speed of resolutions, automatize things and reduce manual processes, but we don't have the technical knowledge or the understanding to explain ourselves properly. And I think finding a good partner like Shiji or other companies around that are able to explain you how to implement it, how to do the mapping of all the information you want to work with, how to align the hotel processes to the tech the providers are offering. Sometimes we as hotelier, we need to be open to change also our processes because technology is flexible, but sometimes a provider has a range of flexible solutions, but some are fixed. So we need to have a process map very clear of what we want to do and how we want to translate it to the technology. And the second thing that Jill mentioned, it gets me back to my first reply, it's time. Imagine the housekeeping manager, here in the Caribbean, for instance, the housekeeping employees and managers are talking through radios with the front desk. So imagine all this noise on the radios. Usually they share the channel, they share it with the front desk people, the bellboys, the butlers. And imagine all that noise that switch off and it goes through an app or it goes through emails or it goes through automatized alerts. And also the reducing lack of communication. What I may say on the radio, it might be understood in a different way, and it might generate an error in the service or an issue or a complaint. And usually when your flows are really well thought and the information that you input in the system is clear, that misinformation or misunderstanding, you reduce huge amounts of volume with that.
Thank you, Jordi. So that kind of, Jill, back to you, also diving into what are those benefits of integrating, with hotel systems and all that real-time data?
Yeah, I think we've kind of hit on some of them as we've gone through, but to summarize, it's all about the data. Integrations will enable more data to flow than if you have to enter it manually. So you have more elements of the data going back and forth between the systems, real-time communication, improve reliability and quality of that data as it's being transferred. And then really being able to automate processes, create efficiencies. So at the end of the day, it's more efficient for the team at the hotel, and ultimately, provides a better guest experience for the guests who are coming into the hotel.
That's completely true. And 8 or 9 years ago, at Majestic Resorts, we were. I come from my background, as I said, it's Ritz-Carlton and Mandarin, and those are companies that are really focused on quality assurance and achieving or meeting the expectation, and probably also exceeding the expectations. And those were companies that were really focused on the guest feedback. The guest feedback was the most important thing. We can adjust our hotel services. We can think of whatever we want, but at the end of the day, it's the guest who's gonna provide us the best feedback and what do they really want. So when I got at Majestic, we started doing surveys manually, both for clients in-house and that were post-stay surveys, and everything was manual. We had the paper surveys, we had a guest service agent working around the property, or we had the guest service manager sending out emails, and all the process was manual. And I think it was almost 9 years ago, we contacted Christina at Review Pro, and we start talking with Christina at Review Pro, and she offers us the guest service surveys automated, and it changed everything. That was mind-blowing. We are not really a company that believed a lot in technologies up to till 2 years ago. So we started the process of integrating Review Pro in our PMS and dealing with the guest service. And then we jumped in also in the online reputation management, and it was a game changer. We probably spent an hour daily, almost 2 hours daily, just inputting the service in a spreadsheet, preparing the report for the management and the head of departments. And it was amazing how in 5 minutes we got real-time information. Anytime a guest responds, you get a notification. Anytime kicks in the survey, you get also the feedback, which email addresses are real, the bounces back. And for us, it helped us to get real-time information, having those people, those employees investing their time in other duties, and it was amazing. And then from then we escalated everything.
Yeah, and Jordi, and then that's, I mean, in the sense of what are the benefits of integrations, I think we could spend 1.5 hours here talking and listing a full list of the positiveness of the integrations, as you guys were saying. But there's one thing that Jordi just said that I really want to make sure we talk about this. That is that when he joined Majestic, they kind of refused to adapt technology and implement innovative technology. And I think this is something that is happening and it's real. I mean, there's hoteliers out there that refuse to adapt to these new technologies. They claim that it's usually because of high initial investments, or even this fear or the unknown technical challenges that you don't know that you're going to face. The typical question that a hotelier would ask to themselves is, why do I need to invest in some system that would probably include some migration of my current systems if the ones that I have today get the job done, if you know what I mean. And I think it's a very valid point. And it really depends as well on the market segment of the hotel. It is not the same comparing one hotel, a Citizen M hotel in the middle of New York in Times Square, versus a bed and breakfast in the middle of the desert in Australia, right? So it's not the same thing, and it's different. However, I think it's very important, and this is why I'm mentioning this, is that when you analyze current guest experiences, we can prove as a provider that implementing the most up-to-date solutions end up meeting guest expectations, and that ultimately generates higher revenues. So just to wrap it up, I really think that the option to cut the costs involved with technology innovation implementation, it's not going to last forever. And I think things are evolving, and they're evolving very fast in a way where hoteliers need to adapt and move towards API suppliers, API first suppliers that can get the job done. Yeah, I mean, just put one more thing into the discussion, I think that we cannot get stuck with the markets and the demand of who's paying right now for the hotels, but also think about who's coming next. Yeah, if we think about the millennial generation that looked like, you know, something in the past that wouldn't happen, and now if you think about these is a generation that is already 30 years old and can now pay for hotels and expect different things. And if you think about the centennials coming afterwards, yeah, I think things evolve, and we need to make sure that the industry evolves at the same pace.
Yeah, just to, I guess, kind of build upon that, it's not easy being on the hotel side today. I think, you know, I think about when I first started and what didn't exist. It was really the core solutions, and back to what I said earlier, all these choices that exist for a hotelier today. And we speak to hoteliers of all different levels of experience and expertise, some extremely savvy in this space and some who were just starting out and trying to understand it. And, you know, what is really important, again, in those conversations, whether you're on the hotel side or the technology vendor side, is to really, you know, vet through everything that they're trying to accomplish and help them figure out, are there systems I'm using, or am I using a lot of different vendors that could be accomplished through one, and maybe help with consolidation. I was talking to a couple of partners over the last couple of weeks about integrations to our Shiji Enterprise platform, which has PMS capabilities. And you know, one group has 5 integrations they need to their PMS. The other had 60. So, you know, finding an all-in-one solution for 60 is probably never going to happen. But where can those 60 be consolidated from 60 vendors to maybe, you know, cut that in half, or just minimize that by finding a suite of solutions that, you know, takes multiple of those and puts them into one. Kind of going back to what we do at Review Pro, where we have very different components, and someone could be using 4 different vendors to accomplish what we can do alone at Review Pro. And from the hotel side, it's important on the integration piece from a cost perspective. Integrations, you know, typically come with an investment on both vendor sides, from a configuration, in some cases possibly just building, and then an ongoing maintenance fee, which comes with it to support the integration. So being able to really vet out what those choices are, and possibly consolidate to some vendors who have, you know, multiple options inside of a suite, can help with their investment, as well as a little bit more comfort with the data flowing between those different components, and the integrations needed being less because you do consolidate to one vendor.
There are actually so many interesting points that you guys have said right now that I don't know which ones to attack. As I said, we are Majestic. We saw the integrations as a cost many years ago, and then we start seeing the benefits of it. So around 2-3 years ago, we decided to implement our new ERP. Unfortunately, we went with the competition. I'm sorry about that. And the main idea was to have an all-in-one, a platform that could give us solutions for the property management system, for the CRS, for the CRM, financial platforms, accounting, housekeeping. But then we realized that the more we analyzed our customer journey, we always at Majestic Resorts, we focus everything based on the guest. The more we focus on the customer journey, the more we understood that sometimes all-in-one, it's the best solutions if you want to start, but then you need to have outside vendors integrating in that all-in-one. And my best suggestion to all the hoteliers they are listening now is, when you choose your all-in-one solution, if you are going for it, make sure that either they have an open API that other vendors can use, or that their development team can, it's really open to work with other vendors. Sometimes certain companies are not narrow-minded, but the way they are structured, their product is their solution, and they are kind of, let's say, shy to share it there. So in addition to that, there are plenty of solutions in the market. Probably Review Pro is specialized more in customer service or surveys, online reputation. There are other companies specialized in the check-in online. We need to find, as an hotelier, we need to find how to mingle everything and to obtain the best outcome from that. And it's true that we are evolving. Companies every day are more demanding those solutions. But I think also, guest, Guille mentioned the millennials, the centennials, but we as hotelier, we need to think that I'm in the all-inclusive business. So we gather our services from people who is 70, 80 years old. My parents who are 60, baby boomers or Generation X, and then we go to the millennial and centennials. And in our customer journey, we need to think that they have all different needs. A baby boomer or Generation X or my grandfather, probably he needs to speak on the phone, to go physically to the guest service agent to make a request. And probably my nephew, he wants to do everything through the DMs on Facebook, on Instagram, or he wants an immediate reply. That's why perhaps AI chatbot like Repipro has, it's an excellent solution. Or we hoteliers, we need to find an equilibrium, because at the end of the day, we can work with, try to achieve a market, but at the end of the day, everybody comes to a hotel, especially in the Caribbean. And the more solution you have, the more integrated, the easiest you can read the data and know how to attack things and resolve them.
No, we agree. That's some good points, Jordi. And now that everybody's mentioned Review Pro, I really want to dive into how can Review Pro help integrate so many systems together.
Right. So
can you give us,
Yeah. Thanks, Gabriela. I mean, I just see Review Pro and I'm just jumping like, okay, it's my turn.
No worries, no worries. You're excited. It's okay.
So yeah, I mean, what we see here on screen is, I mean, it's a clear representation of the current integration model that Review Pro kind of uses. Not only Review Pro, but this is just to illustrate how important integrations happen to be in our industry. I think Jordi mentioned a few things that are very important as well, which is there is no real how would I put this? There is no service that can actually provide with all the solutions all in one. Yeah, I mean, while the search for the all-in-one solution continues, because of course, what's best than that? I think that we need to make sure that we understand that each system or each software is good at doing something very niche and very specific. Yeah, and by being able to integrate to other systems that do something very niche as well, and they do it very good, then we can have a middleware solution that is capable of offering the best for both the hotel and the customer. So what you see here on screen, it's an example of what we've seen specifically during the pandemic. Yeah, I think during the pandemic, we've seen an evolution. So let me start with something that I think it's clear for everybody. The hotel industry has been running behind on other industries when it comes to technology. Yeah, I mean, if we think about banking, we think about transportation or mobility. Yeah, you can think about Uber, Cabify, or on the banking area, how you manage your accounts, and everything seems to be very seamless, right? And in the industry that we work, it is now that we are thinking about contactless solutions because of the pandemic. Yeah. And this is when we start looking at implementing such solutions. Of course, pioneers did that before, but now it's when it is time for the industry to evolve. So again, in this graph, what we see is an example of what this means. You can see multiple providers from payment gateways on the top at your right side, which integrate with online check-in solutions. Yeah, and how these solutions are integrated with Review Pro, who connects to PMSs by being able to provide with services like Jordi was just mentioning, surveys, online reputation, and fitting this data together with these new applications into one same scenario where Review Pro kind of acts like a middleware and is capable to store this data into one same system that connects to your PMS. Yeah, so I think, look, we are in times in which these contactless solutions are happening. Messaging services integrations like WhatsApp, Instagram, Facebook, WeChat, you name them, are happening. Yeah, and when we're looking at technology and how can we integrate all these different providers into one same solution, is where software as a service providers like Review Pro come into play. And they not only provide with great technology and integrations, but also with faster, flexible, and less expensive, and most importantly, secure integrations between technical providers. I think, yeah, the technology scenario is difficult. There's a lot of things, but that's where we are here for. It's to make sure that the industry evolves alongside with guest expectations.
But actually, that chart is really interesting. We at Majestic Resource, we have a similar one, but it's more kind of a line from pre-stay to post-stay. But there you can see many of the features you can integrate to your systems, to your tech. From the moment our guest goes to the websites and start writing on the chat. Nowadays, most of the websites they have on the bottom right hand, they have like speak to me, talk to me, or ask away. I'm here to serve you. And many companies, they're implementing the chatbots, so they can, going back to the centennials, they can reply automatically and get the information straight away. Other companies, they have a live person sitting behind a screen replying to those chats, which I find that we are gonna lose that position, because the moment you write on a chat or a DM on Facebook or Instagram, and the moment you don't receive the reply in 5-10 minutes, the guest will move to another competitor. From connectivity thing with the channel managers and the PMS, we upload the rates on the extranets of the OTAs, and all this goes automatic to the website of Expedia or Booking or other companies, and the guests can see real time the real room rate. They can book, they can get the confirmation. That confirmation goes to the PMS. It generates a automatic reservation. If it has requests or preferences, it goes into their file. If you have a CRM connected to your PMS, where you start creating the guest profile with all the preferences, in-house guest messaging platforms, again, chatbots or live agent, service apps. There are the ones that are like a landing page, like a website, but there are other ones that you can interact, like the room service example you gave, or a housekeeping request, extra towels, or a room service with special needs. All of these integrated help us, the hoteliers, to achieve the guest satisfaction. And then most of hoteliers, we think at the check-in and the check-out, but there is something before and something after. We are Majestic, we consider the customer journey all the way the guest is starting to think to rebook us again. That's how I look, basically. And if you achieve, you know, that track or that line to connect the dots, at the end of the day, they always come back. And I actually would like to say hi to one of the attendees, which is one of repeat guest. She's been with us probably 40 times at Majestic. So hi, Luis.
Yeah, I think the visual that you put together here, Guille, is, and when we line up your visual and your chart, Jordi, it makes it very easy to have those conversations that can be super complicated. Because this is a nice visual of being able to see all of the different integration points that are needed and required, ensure that, you know, the conversation from the very start between the hotelier and the technology vendors are really lined up to know where those integration points are needed, what that data flow looks like, what those use cases are going to be, so that everything's covered and discovered at the beginning, and that there's no surprises, you know, once an integration goes live, whether or not it accomplished what the hotel was trying to accomplish. So I love hearing that you've got your guest journey map that can really be part of the conversation to line up when, you know, we're sitting down and talking to a hotel partner with our map of how things work today, to be able to identify, are there any things that are not covered with the existing integrations that need to be addressed?
Yeah, the important thing is we at Majestic, we are not perfect. We did the customer journey map after starting implementing the technology. So we did it on...
But you got it done.
Okay.
Yes, I do it before, analyze pretty well your processes, and so it will be a bit smoother. The pandemic, in some aspects, it helped us, because as we had to shut down all of our hotels, we were able to think through what we were doing and rethinking a couple of things.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, and that's been good, you know, for us as software, as a providers. We also have been in the same situation in which, you know, with the pandemic, we've been able to create such scenarios like the one that you guys are seeing on screen, where, you know, ReviewPro is capable to integrate to a lot of systems, and, you know, making it seamless for Jordi and all the hoteliers, but also for customers. Yeah, I think just one more line I want to put in this is that we really need to make sure that it's clear that every single line that you guys see here on this graphic, it's because of an API. Yeah, and that's why it's very important that if we want to be able to put in place these innovative technologies, and we think about the future and what's next to come, which we don't know, but it will surprisingly be most likely related to other integrations and open APIs. I think it's very important for the industry to move towards API first technologies and move from hotel legacy frameworks that would not do the job of what's expected in the coming years.
Thank you, Guille. Thank you, everyone. This has been a great discussion. Thank you all for sharing all your insights. So at this point, I'm going to stop sharing the screen, and we're going to open it up to our attendees for any Q&A that you guys may have. If you shared anything in the chat for the Q&A, then I will go ahead and read it. If you have not, I'm going to give you a couple seconds for you guys to write down any questions that you might have after our conversation.
I see a few familiar faces among the attendees, or names, sorry. Don't be shy.
All right, so we do have a couple questions. So one of the questions being, will we get the recorded track of this webinar? We will post this live. This webinar will go live, so you guys can reference it should you need to, or anybody that didn't attend can obviously watch. Okay, on to our next question. So one of the questions was, how complex is the implementation of Review Pro in a property? Gia, do you want to go ahead and answer that one?
Yeah, of course. Okay, I mean, there is different ways of looking at this question. I think one thing is having Review Pro and subscribing to the services that it offers, which at this stage it doesn't really require integration. Is software as a service, which is managed with a web browser application that can be handled from a Google Chrome, Mozilla, Safari browser. Yeah. And I think at this point, a hotel can get up and running Review Pro in a blink of an eye. So I think at this point, there is no integration. Now, how complex is for Review Pro to integrate to my existing systems? That's a different question. And I think as we were illustrating in the graph, and also we were discussing throughout this webinar, it is complex if you want to see it complex. Yeah, I think Review Pro is here to help making sure that hoteliers see technology less complex than it actually is. Yeah, and we do that by making sure that these integrations become standard. They become secure, both for you and for the customers. And yeah, I mean, implementation, is it complex? It really depends as well. Yeah, I mean, not all the implementations would be the same. We do have standard implementations and integration to systems, but there's always specifics that we need to evaluate when it comes to a specific need from a customer. Yeah, because maybe at Majestic, they would like to integrate with their case management system and with, I don't know, with another system that provides them with upgrades to their customers that is already integrated to their PMS. And there is something that is already standard between Review Pro and the providers that Jordi uses. Yeah, but then Jill could come with another idea, and that integration may be not existing, or it would be something specific within the integration that we would need to evaluate and put into place. So I think complexity is relative, but as I said, that's why we are here for, and this is what we actually love doing. So I hope that this answers the question.
I think so. So on to our next question. So how customizable are Review Pro's integrations, and do you have a standard product?
Yeah, I think Gia kind of touched on some of that just now. I mean, each of our
sorry.
That's okay. You don't know what the questions are going to be. It's all good. We do have standard deliverables for each of the integrations that we have in place. And those are things that, we again talk through in the sales process to make sure we understand is what the standard offering that's available going to meet each hotel's needs. Customization is always an option, but customization is going to have some variables, right? Understand exactly what the desired outcome of that integration is. Engaging with another technology vendor to talk through, timelines and availability on both sides to be able to build that integration, test that integration, and then any additional investments that may be required. So I think the short answer is yes and yes, but they do require, more discussion with all parties involved to determine if customization is feasible, and if so, what does that look like from a time and an investment standpoint?
Yeah, and if I can add something, sorry, Jordi, there is one thing that I don't want to be redundant with that, but when you think about integrations and this customization that Jill was just mentioning, I think it's very important, again, that we think about how this connectivity is going to exist. Yeah. And again, this is APIs. So that is why you cannot think about integrating something to another system if you don't have a way to connect between them. Yeah. So yeah, I just want to make sure that this is clear, because sometimes it comes up as an idea from a hotelier that wants to integrate some system that they use to Review Pro and to do this and that, but there is no connectivity. Yeah, so I think it's very important that we highlight that. Sorry, Jordi, go ahead.
One of the things that Jill said and Guy reiterated is you need to have clear in your mind your process map of the hotel, and you need to be able to be patient enough for the customization, because when you go for a standard, you know that you're covering your basics. When you want to implement new things, as Jill said, you need to see if the other vendor has the same technology or the same connectivity. You need to see if they are thinking or considering that that's priority for them, something that it could be really urgent for you, it might not be for them. So I always suggest when we are thinking of new implementation in the company, let's go for the basics and open a parallel line and work for the customization. So we cover our needs and then we can implement new technology. Otherwise, you might start with the customization and you may never end the customization. You will be stuck there and you will always have some bugs or some conflicts and always relying on third parties, which is we as Outlier don't like to. So I always will go with basics and then building up.
We do have a couple more questions I would like to get through. So the next question is, how does a hotel track real ROI on the newly implemented technology? And how soon could you see the results usually?
Well, I'll go for it.
Okay.
And it's funny because we were just talking yesterday at lunch with one of the GMs of the company. 8-9 years ago, we didn't know what Net Promoter Score was. We were tracking down the guest complaints or issues or incidences on an Excel spreadsheet. So we had just a vision of probably what we of the information we were getting at first touch. A guest was talking to us, we registered. For instance, with the surveys, we are sending surveys to all of our checkouts, or we are sending surveys on the second day of the stay. So out of 1,500 rooms on property, we might get a reply back of 60%, 70%. Usually the checkout, they tend not to reply as much, so 30%. And that information helps us to find issues. And in the case of the checkout, we already lost the guest and we really cannot do nothing but apologizing. But with the guest in house, we can recover them and we probably can generate repeat guests from that. Apart from that, there are KPIs like the Net Promoter Score or the Global Review Index that most of the companies nowadays are looking at. And you know, when you reach above 91, 92% in the guest review index or above 50 on the Net Promoter Score, you know that you are in a segment that you're providing a good service, a good relationship between quality and rate. And it's not something easy to track down, but you get your parameters. And also you will see in automatization integration, you will see that you will be able to dedicate or focus your operation in different areas. It's very difficult to monetize that. I'm not able to say you will recover 3%, 10% of your investment or 100%, because that's I think Jill will agree with that. Each company deals it in different ways, but you will see for sure in customer service satisfaction.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, the ROI, sometimes it can be a straight revenue number. Other times it's the efficiency of the staff. And another example, it's the improvement in guest satisfaction scores, which we know has a direct correlation to a hotel's ability to increase their RevPAR. So you did great, Jordi. I agree with your responses. It is very subjective depending on the hotel and where you're starting from, and having that benchmark from how all these key statistics and your KPIs look to begin with, and then being able to measure that on a daily basis to see when you start making improvements.
And there are also tools, like Guille said, upgrade the softwares. There, in that case, you can measure easily because you know how many upgrades you were selling the months prior or the year prior or the quarter priors, and then you can track down how many upgrades are coming through the software versus the upgrades that are sold on desk. It depends on the technology you're implementing and what you want to track, but it's also depending on the type of things that you are implementing. Guest service, you can track it. Other things are more like depending on.
Right.
Of course. Thank you. Thank you, Jordi and Jill. We do have another question. I think this will be a last question. Next one is, do you work with different PMS that connect the reviews and different surveys of the guests of a hotel in the PMS, like Portal, Portal, Opera, or Amadeus directly?
I guess this is for me.
I think so. This is definitely a Review Pro question.
Okay, so yeah, it's a very good question, and I think we've touched, from PMS to channel managers directly. I think this is the same way I'm always saying that the industry is evolving. It's not only evolving for hoteliers to understand what applications they can use and what this is benefiting them, but also we as providers continue to evolve. Yeah, I think if you look at channel managers like SiteMinder, I think their marketplace have over 1,200 integrations with different systems, plus 300 PMSs or something like that. What we do at Review Pro is we have been working or continue to work. It's not completed, but we work towards integrating with such platforms, with the ultimate goal of being able to integrate to the different PMSs that integrate with them. So again, that's why I think it's very important to highlight again, and I swear this is the last time I'm saying it, but all these connections are via API. So in this case, you would have an integration between SiteMinder and a PMS, which could be Protel, Opera, and then SiteMinder to integrate with Review Pro so that the information is flowing through it. Yeah, so I think this is the way of actually benefiting from the services that Review Pro actually offers, plus the integrations that we have towards integrating with systems that act, in this case, as a middleware between Review Pro and your PMS. So long story short, yes, we're working and continue to work towards this type of integrations to make sure that we can cover most of the market.
Thank you. All right, well, it doesn't look like we have any further questions, so I will close today's event here. I want to thank you everyone for joining, our attendees and our panelists, and we hope to see you at the next Shiji Buzz event. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.